The night was cold, and the desert stretched endlessly under a sky full of stars. Captain Liam Hayes tightened his grip on the rifle slung across his chest as he scanned the horizon with practiced precision. The wind carried whispers of sand and solitude, but something else lingered in the air. A faint hum that didn't belong to this world. His instincts told him it wasn't just another routine patrol. Tonight would be different. Liam had been part of the Earth Defense Corps for nearly 8 years, long enough to know when things were about to get messy. He'd seen aliens before, mostly hostile ones, but nothing could have prepared him for what happened next. A streak of light tore through the darkened heavens, leaving behind a trail of fire that lit up the entire valley. It wasn't a meteor. It moved too deliberately, almost like it was alive. Then came the crash. A deafening explosion that shook the ground beneath his boots. "Command, this is Alpha Squad Leader Hayes," he said into his comms unit. His voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. "We've got an unidentified object down, near coordinates 42 by 78. Preparing to investigate." Static crackled over the line before a response came back. "Roger that, Hayes. Proceed with caution. We'll send backup if necessary." He nodded even though no one could see him. Backup wouldn't arrive anytime soon out here in the middle of nowhere. That left him and his team to handle whatever they found alone. As they approached the smoking crater, their flashlights cutting through the swirling dust, Liam couldn't shake the feeling that something extraordinary awaited them. At first glance, the wreckage looked like any other alien vessel they'd encountered. Sleek, metallic, and eerily advanced. But then he saw her, or rather it. Slumped against a jagged piece of debris was a figure unlike anything he'd ever imagined. She was humanoid, yes, but her skin shimmered faintly, reflecting the moonlight like liquid silver. Her hair cascaded down her shoulders in waves of pale lavender, and her eyes, when she opened them, glowed softly, like twin galaxies trapped within her gaze. For a moment, time seemed to stop. None of his men moved, frozen by awe or fear or maybe both. Liam stepped forward cautiously, lowering his weapon slightly. "Are you injured?" he asked, though he doubted she understood English. Her lips parted, revealing teeth that gleamed like polished pearls. And then she spoke. Not in words but in tones, melodic and resonant, bypassing language entirely. Somehow he understood her. "Help me," she pleaded, her voice echoing directly in his mind. "She's communicating telepathically," muttered Corporal Jenkins from behind him, his tone equal parts wonder and unease. Liam ignored him, focusing instead on the alien girl who now clung weakly to consciousness. There was an urgency in her expression that tugged at something deep inside him. Without hesitation, he knelt beside her and carefully scooped her into his arms. She felt lighter than expected, fragile yet strangely powerful all at once. "What do we do now, sir?" asked Private Ramirez, his face illuminated by the flickering glow of their headlamps. "We take her back to base," Liam replied firmly. "She's not a threat. Not yet, anyway." As they made their way back to the transport vehicle, Liam couldn't help but glance down at the mysterious being cradled against his chest. Her breathing was shallow, her body trembling slightly. Despite her otherworldly appearance, there was something profoundly human about her vulnerability. For reasons he couldn't fully explain, he felt a surge of protectiveness wash over him. Whatever she was, wherever she came from, she needed help, and he intended to give it to her. Back at the secure facility, hidden deep within the desert mountains, Dr. Evelyn Carter adjusted her glasses and leaned closer to the observation window. Inside the containment room lay the alien girl, still unconscious but stable thanks to hours of medical intervention. The soldier who had brought her in, Captain Hayes, hadn't left her side since arriving, pacing outside like a restless guardian. Evelyn smirked to herself. Soldiers weren't supposed to form attachments, especially not to extraterrestrial beings. But there was something undeniably compelling about the way he hovered protectively nearby. "Well, aren't you a sight?" Evelyn murmured under her breath as she studied the girl's features more closely. Up close, her ethereal beauty was almost overwhelming. Her silvery skin seemed to pulse faintly with an inner light, and those glowing eyes, currently closed, hinted at untold depths of intelligence and emotion. It was hard to believe such a creature existed outside of science fiction novels. Evelyn turned her attention to the data scrolling across her tablet. Preliminary scans revealed that the girl's physiology was remarkably similar to humans in some ways: 2 arms, 2 legs, a bipedal structure, but vastly different in others. Her cellular makeup suggested regenerative capabilities far beyond anything known to modern medicine. and her neural pathways indicated cognitive abilities that bordered on superhuman. Yet, despite these differences, her vital signs matched those of a human in distress. Rapid heartbeat, low oxygen levels, signs of trauma. Fascinating, Evelyn whispered, jotting down notes furiously. This was the discovery of a lifetime, and she wasn't about to let anyone else hog the spotlight. Just then, Captain Hayes entered the lab, his boots clicking sharply against the tiled floor. "How is she?" he demanded without preamble, his tone gruff but tinged with genuine concern. Evelyn raised an eyebrow at his abruptness. "Still sleeping, I'm afraid, but she's stable. Whoever or whatever she's resilient." Liam nodded curtly, though his eyes remained fixed on the figure behind the glass. "What do we know so far?" Evelyn hesitated for a split second before launching into an explanation. "Well, aside from the obvious, she's not from around here. We've determined that her biology is unique. She has organs we can't identify, and her DNA doesn't match anything in our databases. Oh, and did I mention she might be able to manipulate energy fields? Because yeah, that's a thing." Liam frowned, crossing his arms over his chest. "Energy manipulation? Are you saying she's dangerous?" "I'm saying she's potentially incredible," Evelyn corrected, unable to suppress a grin. "But don't worry, Captain. If she wanted to fry us all to ashes, I think she'd have done it already." That earned her a glare, which only made her chuckle. "Relax, Hayes. I'm kidding. Mostly." She tapped her tablet thoughtfully. "Honestly, I think she's scared. Lost. Alone. Doesn't that sound familiar?" Liam stiffened, clearly unamused by her attempt at humor. "You're forgetting she's an alien. We don't know what she's capable of. And you're forgetting she's also injured and defenseless right now." Evelyn shot back, her tone sharp enough to cut steel. "Look, I get it, you're a soldier. Your job is to stay suspicious until proven otherwise. But sometimes trust isn't a liability. Sometimes it's exactly what someone needs to survive." Before Liam could retort, a soft groan emanated from the containment room. Both heads snapped toward the source, watching as the girl stirred feebly. Her glowing eyes fluttered open, darting around the sterile environment with visible confusion. When her gaze landed on Liam, recognition sparked in their luminous depths, and she reached out weakly toward the observation window. "She knows you," Evelyn observed quietly, her scientific curiosity momentarily giving way to something softer. "Go on. She's waiting." Liam hesitated, glancing between Evelyn and the girl. Finally, with a resigned sigh, he pushed open the door and stepped inside. Evelyn watched through the glass as he approached her bedside, his movements cautious but deliberate. The girl's hand found his, gripping it tightly despite her frailty. Whatever passed between them in that moment, words, thoughts, emotions, it was clear that something profound had shifted. Evelyn leaned back against the counter, folding her arms as she continued observing. "Well," she muttered to herself, "this just got interesting." Days turned into weeks, and the alien girl, whom Liam had taken to calling Amara, after some vague memory of a star he'd read about in a book once, began to recover. Her strength returned rapidly, aided by her apparent regenerative abilities, and soon she was walking around the facility with cautious curiosity. At first, communication had been difficult, consisting mostly of fragmented images and feelings transmitted directly into Liam's mind. But with patience and a lot of trial and error, they began to develop a rudimentary understanding of each other. Amara learned quickly, absorbing information like a sponge. She marveled at everything. The taste of coffee, which she declared both bitter and wonderful. The sound of rain tapping against the windows. The way humans laughed when they were happy or cried when they were sad. To Liam, it was like watching a child discover the world for the first time. Except this child possessed wisdom and insight far beyond his own. One evening, as they sat together in the small lounge area designated for personnel breaks, Amara gestured excitedly toward the television screen. Some old black and white movie was playing, featuring a bumbling detective who kept tripping over furniture while trying to solve a mystery. Amara tilted her head, her glowing eyes wide with fascination. "Why does he fall?" she asked aloud, her voice melodic but halting, as though she were piecing together words phonetically. Liam chuckled, leaning back in his chair. "Because it's funny. People like laughing at stuff that doesn't make sense." Amara frowned, clearly puzzled. "Funny means good?" "Sort of," Liam replied, scratching the back of his neck. "It's complicated." She stared at him intently, her expression unreadable. Then, Unexpectedly, she burst into laughter, a bright, musical sound that filled the room. Startled, Liam glanced at her. "What's so funny?" "You," she exclaimed, pointing at him. "You say complicated like it is bad thing. Complicated is interesting." He blinked, unsure whether to feel amused or insulted. Eventually, he settled on amused. "Okay, fair point." Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, though neither of them dared to name it outright. For Liam, it was a mixture of duty and something deeper. He couldn't deny the protective instinct that surged whenever Amara ventured too close to danger, real or imagined. For Amara, it was simpler. In Liam, she saw safety, kindness, and a steadfastness she hadn't known existed. He was her anchor in a chaotic new reality, and she clung to him with quiet determination. Still, moments of tension arose. One afternoon, during a routine checkup with Dr. Carter, Amara accidentally knocked over a tray of medical instruments. The sharp clang startled everyone, including herself, and she froze, her eyes widening in alarm. Before anyone could react, the fallen objects levitated briefly off the floor, suspended in midair as if caught in an invisible current. Then, just as suddenly, they clattered back down. Evelyn gaped, clutching her clipboard like a lifeline. "Did you see that?" Liam pinched the bridge of his nose, exhaling sharply. "Yeah, I saw it." Amara looked mortified, shrinking back against the examination table. "I am sorry," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I did not mean to." "It's okay," Liam assured her, stepping closer. "No harm done." But later that night, as they walked through the dimly lit corridors of the facility, Amara stopped abruptly, turning to face him. "Do you think I am dangerous?" she asked softly, her luminous eyes searching his. Liam hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "You're not dangerous, Amara. You're extraordinary. But people are afraid of things they don't understand. That's why we need to be careful." She nodded slowly, though sadness lingered in her gaze. "I do not want to cause trouble. I only want—" She trailed off, biting her lip. "What?" Liam prompted gently. "To stay with you," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Forever, if possible." His heart skipped a beat, though he masked his reaction with a neutral expression. "We'll figure it out," he said finally, squeezing her hand reassuringly. Together. Unbeknownst to either of them, however, forces beyond their control were beginning to stir. High-ranking officials had taken notice of Amara's presence, and whispers of classified experiments and weaponization protocols circulated quietly among the upper echelons of command. For now, Liam and Amara remained blissfully unaware of the storm brewing on the horizon. But storms, as history proved, always arrived sooner than expected. The first sign of trouble came late one evening when Liam received an urgent summons to General Hargrove's office. He'd barely stepped inside the sterile, high-ceilinged room when the general launched into a tirade, his gravelly voice echoing off the walls. "Hayes, what in God's name are you doing letting that alien roam freely? Do you have any idea what kind of security risk you've created?" Liam squared his shoulders, meeting the older man's steely gaze without flinching. "With all due respect, sir, she's not a threat. She's recovering, adapting. She hasn't shown any hostile behavior." Hargrove slammed a fist onto his desk, scattering papers. "That's not the point. You're too close to this situation, Hayes. Too emotionally involved. Have you forgotten your duty as a soldier?" Liam clenched his jaw but forced himself to remain calm. "My duty is to protect humanity, sir. Not to treat every unknown as an enemy." The general snorted derisively. "Protect humanity? By coddling an alien who could level this entire base with a flick of her wrist? Don't be naive, Captain. We don't know what she's capable of, or what her intentions are." "She saved my life," Liam shot back, surprising even himself with the vehemence in his tone. "If she wanted to hurt us, she'd have done it already." Hargrove narrowed his eyes, studying Liam like a hawk sizing up its prey. "Saved your life, huh? Convenient timing. Or maybe she's playing the long game, manipulating you to gain our trust." Liam opened his mouth to argue further, but the general cut him off with a dismissive wave. "Enough. This isn't up for debate. Effective immediately, she's being transferred to a secure research facility. No exceptions." A cold knot formed in Liam's stomach. "Sir, you can't." "I can and I will," Hargrove interrupted, standing to emphasize his authority. "Your attachment to this creature is clouding your judgment." Consider yourself relieved of direct oversight. Report to Lieutenant Colonel Briggs for reassignment. Dismissed. Liam left the office seething, his mind racing. He couldn't let them take Amara away. Not after everything they'd been through together. She trusted him, relied on him. The thought of her locked away in some cold, impersonal lab made his chest tighten painfully. When he returned to the medical wing, Amara was waiting for him, her glowing eyes lighting up at the sight of him. But the smile faltered when she sensed his tension. "What is wrong?" she asked, reaching out to touch his arm. "They want to move you," Liam said bluntly, unable to soften the blow, "to a different facility, somewhere less accessible." Fear flashed across her face, followed by resolve. "I will not go." "You don't have a choice," Liam replied grimly. "Orders came from the top." Amara shook her head vehemently. "No, I will fight if I must. They cannot take me from you." "Don't say that," Liam snapped, regretting his harshness immediately. Lowering his voice, he added, "You can't fight them, Amara. They'll hurt you." Her expression hardened, determination replacing fear. "Then help me escape." The request hit him like a punch to the gut. Helping her flee would mean abandoning his post, betraying his oath as a soldier. It would mean risking everything for her. Yet, as he looked into her luminous eyes, he realized he didn't care. If staying true to his duty meant losing her, then perhaps duty wasn't worth it anymore. "All right," he said finally, his voice low but firm. "We'll leave tonight, but we'll need to be smart about it." Amara's relief was palpable, and she threw her arms around him, hugging him tightly. For a fleeting moment, Liam allowed himself to savor the warmth of her embrace, the weight of her trust. Then reality intruded, reminding him of the danger ahead. They spent the next few hours planning meticulously. Amara used her unique abilities to disable surveillance cameras temporarily while Liam gathered supplies. A backpack filled with food, water, and basic medical equipment. The hardest part would be getting past the perimeter guards, but Amara assured him she could create distractions if necessary. As midnight approached, they slipped out of the medical wing unnoticed, moving swiftly through shadowy corridors. Just as they neared the exit, however, alarms blared throughout the facility, piercing the quiet night. "They know!" Amara gasped, panic creeping into her voice. Liam cursed under his breath, grabbing her hand. "Run!" They sprinted toward the nearest service tunnel, dodging armed soldiers who shouted orders and fired warning shots. Amara stumbled once, but Liam yanked her upright, urging her onward. Behind them, shouts grew louder, footsteps closing in. "Can you do something?" Liam panted, glancing over his shoulder. Amara hesitated, then raised a hand. A burst of energy rippled outward, knocking several pursuers off their feet. But the effort left her visibly drained, her steps slowing. "We're almost there," Liam encouraged, pulling her along. "Just a little farther." Finally, they reached the tunnel entrance. Beyond it lay open desert, freedom tantalizingly close. But as they emerged into the cool night air, floodlights blinded them, and a squadron of heavily armed troops blocked their path. "Stand down, Captain Hayes!" barked a voice amplified by a megaphone. It was Lieutenant Colonel Briggs, his face stern and unforgiving. Liam tightened his grip on Amara's hand, his mind racing for options. There were none. They were surrounded, outnumbered, and outgunned. "Please," Amara whispered, her voice breaking. "Do not let them take me." "I won't," Liam promised fiercely, though doubt gnawed at him. How could he keep such a vow when the odds were stacked so cruelly against them? Briggs stepped forward, his weapon trained squarely on Liam. "Last chance, Hayes. Surrender peacefully, or we'll use force." Liam glanced at Amara, whose glowing eyes brimmed with unshed tears. Whatever happened next, he vowed silently, he wouldn't let her face it alone. In the stark silence that followed, Amara's fingers intertwined tightly with Liam's, a gesture of solidarity that spoke volumes. Briggs took another step closer, his finger hovering dangerously near the trigger. Tension crackled in the air, thick enough to choke on. Suddenly, without warning, Amara stepped forward, placing herself squarely between Liam and the advancing soldiers. Her posture radiated defiance, her luminous eyes blazing with an intensity that silenced even the most hardened of the men. "You will not harm him," she declared, her voice ringing out with an authority that transcended language barriers. The soldiers hesitated, exchanging uneasy glances. Liam seized the moment, his training kicking in. "Listen to her," he shouted, raising his free hand in surrender while keeping the other firmly clasped around Amara's. "She's not your enemy." Briggs scowled, clearly torn between protocol and pragmatism. "This isn't helping your case, Hayes." Before Liam could respond, a sudden commotion erupted behind the line of troops. A vehicle roared into view, skidding to a halt mere feet away. Out jumped Dr. Evelyn Carter, her wild curls bouncing as she waved frantically. "Hold your fire," she yelled, marching directly into the fray. "What the hell is going on here?" "This doesn't concern you, Doctor," Briggs growled, leveling his weapon at her. "Oh, doesn't it?" Evelyn countered, planting her hands on her hips. "Care to explain why you're treating a harmless alien like a war criminal? Or why you've got half the base mobilized for what amounts to a glorified misunderstanding?" Briggs flushed red, clearly unaccustomed to being challenged. "Orders came from General Hargrove himself. Stand aside or what? You'll shoot me too?" Evelyn interrupted, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "Because let me tell you something, Colonel. If word gets out that you executed one of our brightest minds alongside an innocent alien girl, the media circus alone will bury this operation faster than you can say, classified. And trust me, I'll make sure it gets out." Her words hung heavy in the air, forcing Briggs to reconsider. Reluctantly, he lowered his weapon, signaling for his men to stand down. "Fine," he muttered, glaring daggers at Liam. "But this isn't over, Hayes. Not by a long shot." As the soldiers dispersed, Evelyn rushed to Liam and Amara, her expression shifting from defiant to concerned. "Are you two okay?" "We're fine," Liam replied, though his voice betrayed exhaustion. "Thanks to you." Evelyn shrugged modestly. "Consider it payback for all those times you saved my ass in the field. Now, let's get out of here before someone changes their mind." With Evelyn leading the way, they piled into her vehicle and sped off into the desert night. For miles, no one spoke, each lost in their own thoughts. Finally, Amara broke the silence, her voice soft but resolute. "Where are we going?" "To find answers," Evelyn answered firmly, glancing at Amara in the rearview mirror. "And allies. Someone higher up has to see reason." Doubt flickered in Liam's eyes. "Do you really think anyone will listen?" Evelyn grinned wickedly. "Oh, they'll listen. Especially when they realize Amara might hold the key to saving Earth from threats far worse than bureaucratic red tape." Though skepticism lingered, hope began to bloom. Perhaps survival wasn't just about fighting. Perhaps it was also about finding the right people willing to fight alongside them. The journey that followed was fraught with challenges, but also moments of profound connection and unexpected grace. With Evelyn's help, Liam and Amara managed to evade capture by relocating to a remote safe house nestled deep within the mountains. It wasn't luxurious, just a modest cabin surrounded by dense pine forests, but it offered them sanctuary from the relentless pursuit of military forces. More importantly, it gave them time to regroup, strategize, and reflect on what truly mattered. Evelyn became their staunchest ally, using her credentials as a respected scientist to quietly rally support for Amara's cause. She reached out to influential figures in both scientific and political circles, presenting evidence of Amara's peaceful intentions and extraordinary abilities. Slowly but surely, whispers of dissent began to ripple through the corridors of power. While many remained skeptical, others saw potential, not just in Amara herself, but in the possibility of bridging the gap between humanity and extraterrestrial life. Meanwhile, Liam and Amara grew closer than ever. The days spent hiding together forged an unbreakable bond, one rooted in trust, vulnerability, and shared purpose. They spent hours talking about everything: their fears, their dreams, their hopes for the future. Amara marveled at Liam's unwavering sense of duty, while Liam found himself endlessly fascinated by her boundless curiosity and resilience. Despite the constant threat looming over them, they discovered joy in the smallest things. Cooking meals together, stargazing under the vast night sky, or simply sitting in companionable silence. One evening, as twilight painted the horizon in hues of gold and crimson, Liam took Amara's hand and led her outside. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of pine and earth. Without saying a word, he dropped to one knee, pulling a simple silver ring from his pocket. His voice trembled slightly as he spoke. "Amara, you've changed my life in ways I never thought possible. You've shown me what it means to fight for something greater than myself. For love, for hope, for redemption. Will you marry me?" Tears shimmered in Amara's luminous eyes as she nodded fervently. "Yes," she whispered, her voice breaking with emotion. Always yes. Their wedding was a quiet affair, held beneath the stars that had once guided Liam during lonely nights on patrol. Evelyn officiated the ceremony, her usual sarcasm giving way to heartfelt sincerity. A handful of trusted friends attended, including a few rogue scientists and sympathetic soldiers who had come to believe in Amara's innocence. As Liam slipped the ring onto Amara's finger, there wasn't a dry eye among them. In the years that followed, their lives unfolded like a tapestry woven from threads of hardship and triumph. Amara's presence sparked a global dialogue about humanity's place in the universe, leading to groundbreaking advancements in interstellar diplomacy. Though not everyone welcomed her initially, her kindness and wisdom eventually won over even the most ardent skeptics. Together, she and Liam founded an organization dedicated to fostering understanding between humans and other sentient species, ensuring that fear would no longer dictate first contact. As for their personal life, it brimmed with laughter and love. They welcomed 3 children into the world, or rather, 2 human-alien hybrids and 1 fully human baby, much to everyone's delight. Each child inherited traits from both parents: glowing eyes, telepathic abilities, and an insatiable curiosity about the cosmos. Watching them grow filled Liam with a sense of fulfillment he'd never imagined possible, while Amara reveled in the joy of motherhood, teaching her little ones about courage, compassion, and the beauty of diversity. Redemption came not only in the form of public acceptance but also in the quiet moments when Liam realized how far he'd come. From a battle-hardened soldier burdened by guilt to a husband and father driven by love. Amara, too, found peace in knowing that her journey hadn't been in vain. Her sacrifice, leaving behind her home and enduring persecution, had paved the way for a brighter future for all beings. On their 10th anniversary, they stood together on a hill overlooking the valley where they'd first met, now transformed into a thriving hub of intergalactic cooperation. Hand in hand, they gazed at the stars, feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Life hadn't been easy, but it had been worth every struggle. "I love you," Liam murmured, pulling her close. "And I you," Amara replied, resting her head on his shoulder. "Forever." And so, beneath the endless expanse of the heavens, they embraced the promise of tomorrow. A future shaped by love, unity, and the unyielding belief that even in the darkest times, redemption could shine like a beacon, guiding them home. Beneath the starlit sky, Liam and Amara stood hand in hand, their hearts full of gratitude. "What if we'd never met?" Liam mused, his voice soft with wonder. Amara smiled, her glowing eyes reflecting the constellations above. "Then neither of us would be who we are now." Their children laughed nearby, their hybrid gifts a testament to unity and hope. The world had changed because of them, bridges built where walls once stood. Liam kissed her forehead, whispering, "You gave me a life I didn't know I was missing. And you gave me a home," Amara replied, tears glistening like stardust. Together, they turned toward the horizon, ready to face whatever came next. For love had redeemed them both, binding their souls across stars and time. And in that eternal moment they knew they were infinite.